Hello and welcome to Extra Hours. We've got a special treat today. This episode is going to have more of a second hour style. So if you're familiar with the morning office hours show, in the past we used to have second hour guests, and right now we haven't been doing that. So pertinent to the industry, there's been some news going on, and I've been here filling in for the shoes of Grant Whitehead, which has been rather tough. But those are big shoes to fill. Since he gave me the keys to the kingdom, I decided to turn the show just a little bit around and just have the condensed version to hopefully inspire you guys, educate you. This is a show that is driven by your questions as well as the questions that our experts are going to have. We do have a tighter group. It'll just be myself. We got Jeff Keithley in from Texas. Say hello, Jeff.
Hey there, guys. Glad to be here today.
He might have a little experience with some PTZs as well. So this episode's going to be on remote production. You saw a little three up there with our guest, Paul Richards from PTZ Optics. How you doing, Paul?
Hi, Guy. Thanks so much for having me. I'm doing great.
Nice. And you're coming in from where?
I'm coming from the eastern shore of Chesapeake Bay, Maryland.
Ah, nice. And what's the weather like out there?
You know, it doesn't sound like too different from where you're at on the West Coast. It's 80s, 90s, a little humid, but it's nice.
Nice. Yeah, we're in the pre-show. We were just chatting about the weather. I mean, it's just stunningly beautiful in Seattle. We get 300 days of gray sky or rain, and then we get 65. So today days of sunshine or good weather, and this is one of those 65 days. So when you get it, you're super thankful for it. Now, we have the way this show is going to work is we have a series of questions that'll come in. But before we jump into those questions, I wanted to round out and kind of get a little more of the experience from Jeff Keithley is how he uses PTZs, and then kind of tee things up, because we're going to talk about not only PTZs, but also remote controlling, which Jeff and I have both had the opportunity to do. In fact, I just dashed back to my house to do this show. We have a big show in Seattle, and I'm running Robos, 6 of them. So this will be a good conversation to have, because it's pertinent to what I'm doing in just a few hours on a big show. So Jeff, give us a little insight as to how you use PTZs in remote production.
Well, for us, it was almost, I love cool toys, so I kept buying them, and I just was in a never-ending hunt of, hey, what can we do to give more production value for a lower cost than sticking a person in a spot, or sometimes we just physically couldn't do that. We started doing a lot of live sports about 10.5 years ago, and 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And in that area, we really had to be very cost conscious, but also at the same time, we had to make sure that our production value was as high as possible too. And that was right about the time that, if you remember the Panasonic HE120s, that's when they came out, and I used and abused those for years. And we were pretty happy with them. And then a little later, we upgraded a lot of our Panasonic stuff to 4K, and we made the next step to robotics, and that was a big step. It was a very costly step. And the difference between robotics usually is it's a higher resolution in motor pack. It's a higher resolution software. And we are also putting we needed to be able to deliver to our content, all the content we were doing to our contracts, we had to deliver in 4K. So we had to move up to really big lenses and stuff. In the sports we were doing, we couldn't do with smaller PTZs at the time. So it was a necessary thing to do. As we did that, we found that there's even more things you have to worry about with the bigger robotics, and some of that is just things you learn. But what I did learn is, no matter if it was a smaller PTZ we were using for some of the B shots and extra beauty shots and things like that, it was, whether it was that or whether it was a full-on robotic that we were following the actual players around. We were doing tennis a lot, so that was a big thing. It was pretty easy to get the guys off the courts. Courts were we actually measured a court one day. It was 134 on the court. I put a laser down, one of the laser thermometers down, and it was like, that's what it came up to. So they were cooking, and they were very thankful to be able to work remotely inside the truck. At that time, it was a tour bus with AC, and I was able to keep my employees around longer because they weren't out there cooking like normal. So
Oh,
it really
I know the
changed our
feeling,
business.
Jeff. You threw me out there in that heat on a show not too long ago. I was
Except
that
for those
guy that was
handhelds.
cooking. Yeah. So there is still part of the world where we have to throw the
Yeah,
big cameras
yeah.
on our shoulder and
There's
go out there and cook in the heat.
certain
Yeah.
times that it just has to happen. But
And you guys are just in the air conditioned trailer with your little joystick. Just and I'm watching the PTZs move around and just going,
yeah,
one day I want to be like
yeah.
one F Jeff. Dare to
You know,
dream.
it really comes down. It comes down to it's the right tool for the right job. So for us, the other thing about beauty cameras and stuff like that, I was like, I am so sick of it always being stuck and wide and just not ability to move at all. So I was like, every time we put up a beauty camera, it's a PTZ or a robotic or a PTZ or something. It's like, I want the ability to move that camera and reframe, grab another shot. I don't want to be stuck with just a big wide shot of what we put it up to. And if we have problems or we need to see something else, you know, a different angle, whatever, than what we have up, it's just, I just prefer to have everything robotic. Everything needs to move one way or the other. That's just where I
Paul, in
landed.
terms of markets, you know, we have the house of worship, we got the live sports, we've got corporate. What would you say that those percentages are for our viewers that are watching? Just because I know a lot of people are like, hey, I got my FX3, I'm happy with it, it works, it does a job, but they don't realize what you could do with these things. And so what are some of the markets where you're seeing people utilize these, and what are the percentages of those markets, if you know off the top of your head?
Well, you know, some of the data that I look at might be skewed. You know, PTZ Optics is known to be kind of the value player in the pan-tilt zoom space, so we skew very heavily in with House of Worship. Is huge for us, corporate entertainment, but surprisingly, sports is a very fast-growing market. Ever since we brought out our 4K cameras, someone told me that there's a statistic out there. I don't know who makes these statistics, but 80% of sports organizations are looking into remote production. Just because there's so much travel games, so many, you know, known locations where robotic cameras with outdoor capabilities that can be controlled remotely. You know, so many athletics directors across the country are short-staffed. They just don't have the staff. I was talking to an athletics director at Westchester University. They have 40 teams. He's got 2 guys. They cannot stream all these games. There's too many of them.
That's crazy, because I mean, people don't realize that in the olden days, it used to cost so much that it was just cost prohibitive to even bring these shows to an audience. And now we're empowering people. I mean, this is just an exciting time to be alive. Hearing those numbers, I'm just like, wow, how do we get more cameras for more people, and how do we get them to be able to sit in the comfort of their own home? Because even locally here, I was helping my son. They were using iPads to do a live stream, and I was kind of like, oh, I'm just going to go help the video production instructor. And I walked out on the field, and it was like, this was a soccer game, and it was probably 40 degrees out, and we're out there for like 3 hours. I'm like, this is miserable. Like, this is these kids are having the time of their life, though. They're so excited to just be handling iPads and doing, you know, calling shots and getting a result, because they could see that 120 people are online watching live. So I think that's part of the exciting thing that we take for granted as being content creators, that we forget that, hey, there's these people on the other side that are benefiting from this because they weren't able to go because they were on the road, or they had to rewatch it because it was out of their time zone. So this is a cool time. I mean, the cost of these cameras, when I got my first XL1 camera, was about $4,000, and the deck to go with it was another $3,000. By the time I got everything loaded in for my lease, I was at $15,000 with the computer, or 20 actually, with the computer and the hard drives. So the lease payment, you know, was pretty big for somebody just starting out. And now you could have way better quality with just an iPhone, and that's it. You know, like you could just edit on the iPhone too. So it's amazing where we've come and where we're going. And now you literally wrote the book on remote production, Paul. So how did that come about, and what's been the reaction? And tell us a little more about it.
Sure. I've throughout my career, I've been in professional audiovisual for almost 20 years, and I started as a salesperson, by the way, in Pro AV, and did not like it. Totally failed. They were like asking me to leave the company. I was not good at sales, or in the Pro AV market. But I found my way in doing a lot more educational stuff, and I wrote a book called like The Unofficial Guide to OBS, which so many people, especially during the pandemic, we're so excited to have. And I wrote one about helping churches live stream, and I've written several. And so remote production felt to me like the next big thing. And so I spent about a year learning about SRT, learning about NDI Bridge, which is finally becoming embedded into PTZ cameras, by the way. When I was writing about that, it was basically like a dream that maybe could happen. So learning about Dante AV and all of these different solutions, to me, it's a necessary evil anyway. So I'm going to learn about all this stuff. I'm going to like shut the door and learn about it. I might as well write about it too, and try to bring along some of our audience that we have at the Stream Geeks channel, and just try to educate people, because we are a channel first business, so we only sell through resellers and partners. And so the more that we can educate the people that we work with, the better everyone makes out. So it's very much our company, we only work with these channel partners, so educating them just enables them to do so much more. So that's a key part of what we do at PTZ Optics.
Oh man, you said a couple nuggets in there that I'm hoping that the listeners could do me a favor and pop some questions in the chat regarding these things. So an NDI bridge question that's embedded, and another one will be what we talked about before the show, which is some kind of cloud switcher that's coming soon. But on that note of back to the remote production book, so you got the House of Worship, you got OBS, and then you started doing Udemy. Do you say Udemy or Udemy courses?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw you got a lot of great feedback. So how did that whole evolution of your educating and pushing all this information, how did that come about?
Guy, you and I have been doing this for well over a decade, which is crazy to think about.
I still got my hair. Jeff's been doing it longer, so he lost his hair.
Yeah, and in relevance to PTZ cameras, especially, like about a decade ago was when I started. It was about 12 or 13 years ago, and I was training people how to do live streaming then. So the people that were getting their first PTZs in 2015, right? Maybe like some of the younger people were in their 20s, but most people were in their 30s. Now they're in their 40s, now they're in their 50s. So I get these people who took the Udemy courses who say, hey, I work for Mr. Beast now. I do their productions or whatever. And I get these people who come up to me at NAB and different places, and they've taken the Stream Geeks courses. And it makes me so happy. And it's one of the most fulfilling things about my career.
It's interesting because a lot of people evolve like that, where we all got to start somewhere. I mean, this is why I love when people do get involved with their house of worship, and I know all three of us are involved with house of worships, and I run PTZs on the weekends for my local house of worship. So it's a great way if you're out there and you're like, hey, how can I get a handle on these? Ask if your local house of worship that you may attend, or if there's one that you're thinking about attending, if they have an AV department. Great place to get your hands on some machines. Sometimes they're not very high end, and that's kind of the ecosystem of people evolving and getting a taste of it, because it's not just video, it's audio as well. I know Alex, when he's usually here, he talks about how that's how he got started. His first hands-on an audio board were at his local house of worship. So I really encourage anybody to get involved, because again, it is sharing that message that for ours, I feel good even if there's only a handful of people watching, because I could see them on Zoom as participants. But it is just us taking a message that is in one place and bringing it to another. I'm hoping to get just a small NUC, like one of those little B-Links or something, to be able to place there and just be able to remote in with these new, I don't know if you've seen them, there's these new GLI net Comets. They're little hardware KVMs. Those things are sweet. They're $80, and instead of using AnyDesk or Splashtop and having to pay a monthly, you could just drop this piece of hardware. And so for that house of worship in particular, I could control the PTZs remotely just through the computer. So that's something for people to think about, is remoting in. And I know we're going to get into Hive. We're already 14 minutes into this show, and I'm just like, for those watching, we do have another little screen share. Do you want to jump into that right away, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, sure.
Yeah, let's see. What do you got? You were remoted into your studio?
Okay. So I've got a couple things here. I have the PTZ, the brand new PTZ Optics firmware that can link to Hive. So I wanted to show that. And then I have Hive running as well. And I'm going to show that as well. So let me start by showing how to link the PTZ Optics cameras to Hive, because that's the brand new thing that we just released.
Okay.
So the reason why this is important is, so basically we can link the PTZ cameras directly to Hive, which is our cloud-based control system. So that way, when I link this device to Hive, I can ship it anywhere in the world, and it can immediately call back home to the cloud. So,
that's interesting. So if I have just like a Wi-Fi or PepLink or something, and I attach that to it and send it to a hotel and just say, hey, can your tech set this up? Would it be able to just dial in back? Or if they, how would that work if I was just to ship one of those cameras or 3 of those cameras to a venue and say, have your tech set it up? Is that possible?
So essentially what I just did was I connected this camera to a Hive linked studio. So I went from what you just saw me do, and just give this a second to dial in, because what I just did was I went from the PTZ Optics firmware, like the actual hardware camera, connected it to a Hive studio. That only happens one time. Once that camera is connected to the studio, as soon as it boots up, you're going to be able to control it remotely from anywhere in the world. So you could connect 3 cameras, connect them all to the same studio, ship them anywhere in the world. As soon as they plug in with internet, you have the credentials are set. It's logged into your Hive studio. You can control that from anywhere in the world. And this is kind of the experience that you would get. So you'd have the ability to, zoom it in. We have some cool framing tools. And then you have the ability to record, stream, and output that NDI video on the far end for your remote production. So I know I'm jumping into a lot here, but I wanted to start with that piece of the linking, because that was the dream for us, was we're a hardware company, right? So we really wanted to have the hardware fully seamlessly integrated. There's a lot of cloud software out there, but having the hardware seamlessly connect to the cloud was kind of the dream for us. And that is what I just did in front of you. Like, it's in beta, but that is what we have, like, practically shipping. We'll have it in production on hundreds of thousands of cameras by the end of this year.
And a lot of this came about because of the pandemic. I mean, there's some things to be grateful for. I mean, a lot of us went through war and that, but this is one of the outcomes that came out, is that we found this need. So you heard this over and over and over again, and you acted. You saw the rumblings on the ground and went, hey, we got to solve this. And so what's been the reaction so far to the people? Because this is a beta. What have people been saying that are getting a chance to get their hands wet?
So first of all, I'll show you how in the top left here, and I apologize, I don't have the ability to like zoom in on the screen, but on the top left, you've got all your studios. So we have universities who are going, this is great. Every classroom, pop it in, right? They've got PTZs in every classroom. Hive has an enterprise plan, by the way, which is available only through our authorized resellers. But you can have an enterprise plan for like a university. It's $3,000 a year. They can have unlimited studios, so unlimited classrooms. You can just get the whole campus connected. And we have some universities doing that. We have some corporations who have global headquarters. Their IT department's only in California, but they've got 50 offices or whatever scattered throughout the globe. They get calls all the time. Why is the camera not this? Blah, blah, blah. What is that? I got an important thing. And they have no tools, even with Zoom, right? Like with Zoom, you have some remote far-end camera control, but it's not like proactive. It's not like you can go in there, dive into which studio you want to dive into, have all the controls, color correction. We could dig as deep as you want into this, but color correction. And the other big thing with this too, now, I can't actually search this local area network right now because the only connection to this studio is that camera, right? If I wanted to search the local area network, I have to install a bridge. Okay, so sometimes it's nice to have a bridge on the local area network. It could be a Windows computer or Mac computer. Then you can actually search the local area network and add as many cameras as that computer hardware can handle. And in that scenario, which I'm happy to show off, we offer over 400 PTZ cameras that work, from the Sony FR7 to the Panasonics to the Canons, etc. But it requires a bridge.
Okay, so that's an important distinction for the viewers that are watching. This isn't just for PTZ optics. I don't think this is just I got my Canons or whatever. This works with how many different PTZs? Is it?
So I'll show you the list because it is kind of impressive, and I think it opens up some doors. So this is like my full studio here. So this is like the normal kind of demo that we give our all the time, and all of our resellers have access to this. So if they ever need to show a customer kind of a camera, they do this. But essentially, if I hit the plus button right here and pick a camera, now the other thing, the interesting thing is you can have as many bridges as you'd like. So we have some other customers like the NBA, for example. They want to have a bridge at every stadium so that ESPN can just have one master control room that can see all the cameras across all of the stadiums, for example. But to give you this example here, what I'll do is I'll show you all the brands that we support. So Ada, Aver, Bird Dog, Canon, JVC, PTZ Optics, Panasonic, Sony. So if we go into like the Sony, for example, these are actual drivers written for each model. So it's not like we're just applying Visca over IP, up, down, left, right for every camera. These have unique settings, and the kind of dream.
So I could change the color on my FR7?
Well, here's the other thing that is noted here as well. See how some of these say beta and some of these say alpha?
Yeah.
We've had to start to implement that. That gives you an idea of where the status of the driver is. So like if we go to like PTZ Optics and do a drop down, these are all going to be labeled as stable essentially, right? So like and there's a few that are still in beta. When we go to, let's say, Canon, we've got some beta, we've got some alpha, and you can see in some of there, got like some of these more DSLR cameras in there as well. The team's adding more all the time.
What? So you could control, in the future, you'll be able to control like a a C500 color from, if it's
we have this. Yes, we have the C500 in there. I mean, essentially the vision.
Still camera, so I could take over it. If my camera operator got sick and I just had the lighting guy just put it up on sticks, I could basically take control still of some of the functionality, shutter speed, white balance. If the
So just
lens
to
supports
give
autofocus and aperture.
Yeah, and the vision for this product and why we've been working on it so much for almost over, 3 years is that no matter the camera brand, you will have, from a user perspective, one single interface, so that we've normalized essentially what is a sea of different web GUIs, right? Every manufacturer has a different web GUI. Every button is in a different place. They all kind of do different things, and sometimes the ranges are different. So like Panasonic's contrast range is different than PTZ Optics' contrast range. And it's like from an operator standpoint, and I know at my church, we've got like a Blackmagic, a Panasonic, a Canon, and a PTZ Optics. And it's like, we've got 4 different web GUI tabs. I mean, it was very clear that that was not going to work from a user interface perspective. So we had to, no matter what the brand was. Now, as you saw, some of those are in alpha, some of those are in beta, and some of those are stable drivers. Obviously, the goal is to get those all to a stable. But the dream was to have one interface, no matter what the manufacturer is, so that you can go into here, and then what you can do is you can have these color presets. So you can color match all of these different cameras together, create your color profiles, and then drag and drop them. And you can now drag and drop those across manufacturer.
Dang. I'm going to jump right into one of these questions because I know that Ronnie's tuning in all the way from Norway. I kind of spooled up this announcement this morning that we were going to have you on the show. So he's staying up late. And so I just wanted to make sure before he goes to bed that he gets his question first, because I know you have something that you're going to reveal. So go ahead and hit that first one, Jeff.
Oh, so this is like a preamble of the pre-announcement. Okay, got it. All right. So Ronnie, good to see you, buddy. What products or services will bring you to IBC?
IBC is one of my favorite shows of all time. I always try to go if I can. It's in Amsterdam. For us, this is my own thought, is that, saving everything for a trade show is kind of crazy and antiquated. So what we're doing is we are just like releasing things as fast as we can in beta. So all the Move 4K, and for us right now, the biggest thing is getting all of our cameras with Hive linked. But I do have some new things for IBC, but we're just rapidly going up to IBC, and I'm hoping that the engineers will rip the beta Band-Aid off by IBC. Everything goes to production. With a click of a button, all of our users can update their firmware on their PTZ Optics cameras and get the ability to link those cameras directly to Hive across all of our models. And we have a lot of models. We've got Move SE, we have Move 4K, we have the Dante cameras, we have the new Dante AV, we have the Link 4K. Yeah, we have Dante cameras as well.
That's news. I didn't know that.
We have the Dante Link 4K cameras, which are becoming a lot more demand for a Dante AV over the past several years. We have the Studio 4K cameras, which are really cool. Then we are releasing a lot of the Hive controls here, like this movement tool, some of the framing tools, the click to center, which took a lot of time to get those algorithms in. We're building those directly into the web GUI as well. So that customers can get those.
Now there's that Steve Jobs one more thing. What about switching? How could we switch?
Okay, so with that, and that one of the, I'm hoping that IBC we will be announcing something about video switching in Hive. Hive is a SaaS product, so you just continually release new products, like cloud recording, right, is on the roadmap. I mean, the roadmap has video switching on it, it has cloud recording on it. Some of the big things, NDI output is working right now, but we don't have Dante AV in this yet. So Dante AV is something that I'm hoping might be a IBC release. But yeah. Switching is going to be the big one, because when you think about it, like for I don't know if we talked about the pricing on Hive, but it's basically $25 a month for 3 cameras, $100 a month for 10 cameras, and then $3,000 a year is the enterprise. So essentially unlimited studios, unlimited cameras throughout. You get as much as you want, right? So you would get a video switcher included with that. So for $25 a month, you get a video switcher for 3 sources. For $99 a month, you get a video switcher for, I think, 10 sources. But as soon as you open up the video switcher bucket, it's like Pandora's box. It's like, well, I want graphics, well, I want picture-in-picture. Well, I want a lot of that stuff. It's not going to become vMix overnight. But what we have built right now, you've got all your video sources coming in, up to 4K 60. You've got your NDI output on the far end. You've got full control. You have the ability to invite teams, so you can share access with as many people as you'd like. And you have role-based access, so you can have viewers, producers, and administrators. The cool thing about viewers is they can only view, which is kind of interesting, because we serve them up a different view, so they can choose the camera they want to view, and they have switching capabilities in that sense. So like if you're just a viewer, you could kind of switch through. But once switching comes out, there's a lot of features that are included with that, including tally. So if you've got a bunch of remote camera ops out and you've got a video switcher in the same exact system, all those remote camera ops are going to see what's in program, what's in output, all that'll flow through, and there'll be a new switcher view that'll be a lot more like the Black Magic, where you have program, output, and then all your sources in the bottom. So that's going to be a really game-changing, interesting experience when that rolls out to remote camera operators, where you're all remote, your producers remote, directors remote, camera ops are remote, but everyone can kind of see where everyone's at. Like if you were to join the studio right now, Guy, I would see you. I would see your little circle with your it would say like G. And if you were controlling a camera, I would see what camera you're controlling.
And speaking of controllers, if I had like a Scarhoy here, would I be able to use that Scarhoy? Do you support third party? Yeah,
we do.
How does that work? How does that, like, if I have it sitting here, how do I tell it, control that camera?
So if you have it, you could try it right now if you'd like.
I don't have one. I'm saving that last Santa for Christmas for one of those. Jeff might have one. He's like looking down. He's probably got 5 of them sitting there. What do you got, Jeff?
I actually do have one around the corner.
Well, if
I'd have to reprogram it in the blue pill and all that, and I don't want to take the time to do it.
So essentially what happens now, one thing is that right now, what we're looking at right here is in a web browser. Okay, this is a Google Chrome web browser. If we open up the actual app itself, you get more features. So this is this is running on a Windows computer here. The Windows computer can do Windows or Mac can do several different things. One of them is to add IP controllers. So there's a little pop out here. You hit add IP controller. It creates a local IP address local to where that application is running, that Windows or Mac app. You put that IP address into your Scarhoy or your PTZ Optics SuperJoy controller, and then it immediately routes it, and the latency is incredibly low. It will route that joystick controller to whatever camera you have active. And we have some cool hotkeys for basically switching active. So the hotkeys in Hive have really been thought through for quickly switching between cameras. Like video switching, like an output, is with video switching output and streaming is yet to come to this platform. But just basic video switching for camera ops to just switch which camera they want to control is actually pretty well thought out. And even if you're just
what codec is that, if you don't mind my asking? What's transmitting? Is that like WebRTC? Is RTSP? What? So
it is WebRTC. So to start, so essentially one thing is you've got this monitoring tab here in the top right. Okay, so every single source can come in at whatever resolution and frame rate your computer can handle, right? So
it's dependent on the host PC that's on-prem?
In a way. Now there's two, because now, for example, when we were looking at this Hive linked studio, which is just a camera linked to the cloud. So the cloud's doing all the processing. This camera right here, all it's doing is just pushing to the cloud right now. So you can see it's very low latency. You can control it. All of that happens in the cloud. So you could have 3 cameras pushing all to the cloud, 0 computer whatsoever. That is brand new. That's what took us so long to build that into the firmware that's now in beta, shipping hopefully Q4 at this point. But in this studio here, this PTZ Optics studio, this studio is running on a Windows computer. So this studio has what we call bridge. Now, Guy, you could connect your studio, your bridge from your computer to this one, and we could both be seeing each other's sources. So you can add as many, see this button here, where I can go ahead and add additional bridges. We get that question a lot, where people want to get a cloud studio where they've got multiple LANs coming together in one location.
So that PC, it would like one without a GPU work, or what do you need? Do you need like a gaming computer,
honestly,
or just like a basic B-Link $300 like cheapie?
So we have some recommendations on our website for minimum specs. It's not GPU heavy; it's CPU heavy as of now.
CPU, okay.
And so I think honestly, one of the next iterations of this will probably be trying to leverage more GPU, because it doesn't do an amazing job at that right now, the way vMix does. It can use the GPU, but essentially what we've found is there's a big difference between NDI and RTSP, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the clarity, because I know with like some of the things like central control and some of these other options where you could really crank that sucker up, but then all of a sudden you see your resources just go, and if you connect more than a couple people, it just starts skipping frames, and you're like, okay, bring it down. The processor's at 90%. So we've had this with I've done some stuff with Jonas in the cloud where we're using these G4, or actually no, there were C4 instances, because they weren't GPU heavy, they were CPU heavy. And he's like, oh, you want better quality? I can just turn up that slider. But then it suffered once more people started connecting to that same multi-viewer. So is there a slider where we can adjust, and bitrate that we can adjust?
Yeah. So first of all, every source has those custom drivers built, right?
Every source. So one camera that's my primary wide shot, or primary, let's say, follow camera, I want that one high quality, but my wide shot I don't really care about. I could uniquely say for each source.
Yeah, so each source, and I shouldn't say, so every source doesn't have to have a driver connected to it, but most do. Like, for example, as we were looking at those Canon DSLRs, they've got those drivers in there, so we can go in and completely adjust the bit rate. So we can go in and adjust all of that and monitor it. So you're sending and you're receiving data, right? So if you're uploading, to the cloud, you're from your bridge, you're using upload speed. If you're joining, you're just using download because you're joining remotely essentially. And so you can set the resolution, you can set the bit rate, you can set all of that stuff here. So that is nice. And then I'm trying to think about your other question. So once it gets up to the cloud, it doesn't matter how many people connect to this thing, right? So we could have, and I'm happy to click this. So if I click the share, if you click the share button here, or I could, and you can actually just create a link. So I can create a link to share as a producer, and you could copy and paste that.
Give it to Jeff in chat.
All right, Jeff, I'll give you this link.
Let him have the control.
And then you could pop in, and that link will essentially allow you to jump in. And because it's distributed in the cloud already, that won't impact my experience, right? The cloud's redistributing all of that.
Man. I remember the first time that Jeff was showing Sienna, and he showed this cloud switcher, and it looked like an ATEM software control with the green and red buttons, and I about fell out of my chair. And to see what you're doing now is just reminding me of that moment. It's just like, wow, this stuff is really happening. It's such a sea change. I mean, the quality, the control, because one of the things about using Zoom is, sure, you could pan and tilt and zoom, but it's very clunky. Like you're click, 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 click. And if you have a Zoom room, you could actually set some presets, and you could have like 3 or something. But to see what you're doing, especially if you're doing sports or something where the sun's changing, because on this tennis stuff that I was doing with Jeff, you have to shade that stuff because it's just the clouds, the sun. We're shooting from morning to night. It's drastically changing. So you have control over ND if the camera's got ND. You've got, because that was the thing, is I'd have to call over comms like, hey, can you give me more ND? I'm starting to blow out. Things like that. If you want a pretty picture, it's really, you got to have that finite control. So can you go into like menu options as well if the camera supports it? Can you go like to that detail? Like if you wanted to go into like the on-screen display, can you actually do things like that through Hive?
That is the vision actually, but is always going to be difficult because even at PTZ Optics, and we try to have the best support for our own hardware, there are things that you have to go to the web GUI on that you can't access in Hive. But that is the vision for this product, that there would be no need to go to the web GUI or the menu, that everything would be exposed. That's not necessarily, we're not there yet, but that's the vision.
It's exciting because like even this show that I'm on, I mean, the hotel alone is like $400 a night. And, so travel, hotel, food, all this stuff for there's so many things going on at this show that I'd be like, can I just have somebody remote in and do shading for me, or do just the wide cameras for me? And so I'm excited just about what this means in the future as far as being able to plus up productions that have a limited budget, but there's people afar. I mean, have you thought about like, how do we create a network of people? Like Office Hours is a great spot because there's so many people in here, great community, but where you have a directory, so to say, of PTZ operators. I know that Live Control, these guys, they said that they were doing 1,000 events a week, and they were the largest in the world. And I was like, how is that possible? And they're like, we got a network of people. And it's like, so do you envision a directory where you have, is that something Hive or PTZ Optics, or how do you see that happening?
It's interesting. I do kind of envision that because we only work through authorized resellers and authorized resellers. And so every single PTZ Optics reseller gets a Hive NFR license. So that means if you're an authorized PTZ Optics reseller, you get a Hive account, a standard Hive account for free. So we want you using this. We want you using it for events. We want you getting a handle on it, because what happens, we think, is that customers out there are going to try.
A camera. Sorry to interrupt. I'm seeing a camera move around.
Is that you, Jeff?
Oh, I've been playing around for the last 5 minutes. Yeah, keep talking, keep talking.
So Jeff has the control. Okay, yeah, good. Sorry, squirrel. I see stuff moving around. I'm like, oh, what's going on over there?
Yeah, it's so easy to share control, and so I think that teams are going to want to be sharing access with this. And to comment on your about travel, that's the main driver that the customers I talk to, like we're talking to a reality TV show, and they've got all PTZs, they're using Sonys, and they're flying people out to control them on the LAN, even though they're using PTZs. So like I think it's called Big Brother is one of the shows. And when this starts to get into reality TV and it's a cost savings, it's inevitable. They're all going to do it. And
Yes.
that's why our authorized resellers get recurring revenue through Hive. So it becomes a really good opportunity for our authorized partners to not only sell hardware, but now recurring revenue software. And we have a whole onboarding program for those partners. Creating a directory is something I'm going to have to steal that idea because I've been thinking about it. But yes, I see that happening.
I love it because especially for camera shading, like sometimes I just need like I'm on the controls and I would love to just be able to say over comms, can you give me, a little more magenta, there's a green cast because of that, they stepped into some light or something, and have somebody remotely just hit that. I mean, there's no reason for me to have them sitting over my shoulder or even on site for a simple call like that. So the possibilities here, I don't know if our viewers really get what's happening. I mean, like you're saying, we've been in this a decade, so we get it. We're like, oh, whoa. But I think more people, once they understand or see it, that's why I'm encouraging the house worship thing. Because once you go there and you realize, oh, wow, that's how you do it. That's how easy it is. This is how it feels. Or an NAB, an IBC. This is the beauty of going there and seeing the quality of the image, getting your hands on the controls, seeing what the difference between a 12x, a 20x, a 30x actually does in the real world, and the quality of the build and how things move fast or move slow. I do want to jump to Peter Belbin's question. He's also in Texas. So Jeff, you want to grab that question?
Sure thing. Sorry, I'm about to read it from over here. My monitor got lost. Is there a way for customers to add their own custom camera definitions in Hive currently? Or if it's not already available, or is that available so that they can tweak their own profiles?
So there's several options for this. One is the PTZ camera presets. So you can go in, set all your positions, and all of them are saved in these little pictures. So you have a little thumbnail image to know where to click. So all of that is saved to your individual profile. Then you have color shading. So for each camera, you have the ability to set the color balance, the picture, the luminance, all of that stuff, and you can save all of that. So I can save a whole preset of the colors for each camera, and I'm pretty sure that is user specific as well. I'm actually get the test to see if that's user specific or if that's shared with everyone in your studio. But those are the main options there. The other thing that is user specific is the joystick controller, because we talked about how you could have a joystick controller. So let's say you're a Hive PTZ camera operator and you've got a Scarhoy joystick controller. You can connect that to your Windows app or your Mac app, and it doesn't matter what studio you join, your user profile is connected to that joystick controller. There's no need for that local IP address to change. So there's a lot of things like that that are user specific, like your joystick controller. Some people like to use an Xbox controller. Some people like to use I think the keyboard and mouse is fairly good for things like that. Okay, you're talking about adding an entirely generic camera brand to Hive, which you can do as well. So one of the things you could do, so we have these individual drivers that we have to support. And as you can see, there's over 400 literally devices. But if you wanted to add a generic camera, we do support that. Essentially, what you would do is in this drop-down menu, instead of selecting a brand, there's an other option. And when you do the other option, essentially what we have is a calibration system for PTZ cameras, or simply just no PTZ control at all. So if you've just got a webcam or an NDI source that's a screen capture or whatever. You can bring in any video source, obviously. If it's a PTZ camera that's not in our list, we'll actually do a calibration, and we'll run it through about a 10-minute calibration process where it'll check every step, and we kind of do our best to make these PTZ algorithms that are built into the tool work through that calibration process.
Nice. And then we got another question coming in from Ronnie again. He's still awake.
For Ronnie Hofsoy, will I be able to choose the region for where Hive lives? Either Europe, US, Asia, and how do you treat the security and access authentication in each of those areas?
That's a really good question. Currently, we do not support on-prem in any way, so it's cloud only right now. Security is incredibly important with products like this. This is like a lot of time and effort and money has gone into developing this, so we haven't found out a way to do on-prem. It's cloud only. We have an entire document on the security that's in place. 2FA is in place. Role-based access is in place. Strong passwords is in place. You must have a strong password. We also support the ability to have limited access to Hive. So, for example, you can invite someone to Hive with an expiration date. So if you're inviting someone for an event to control your cameras, you can immediately have that revoked, that access within, a certain time period. So I hope that helps answer your question. We're not currently offering the ability to kind of switch servers and locations at this time, but hopefully maybe in the future.
Let's go ahead and grab the next question.
Ooh, that's a long one there. Coming from Dan Browning, how does the robotic PTZ optics long lens cameras do following a single rider and horse in an equestrian event? He's tested the Ozbot Tail 2 and it follows adequately, but he needs more zoom, which, but he's convinced that PTZ cameras and NDI is the future. And he is right.
What do you think, Paul?
With the rider and a horse. So here's what I'm going to say with some of these. This is the. Hopefully, can answer this question. That it would be: is a rider and a horse? Is it a surfer? Is it a dog? Is it all these things, right? That you might want to follow. What we've found is that we have auto tracking for humans right now, and we can track up to 300 feet. But we haven't jumped out to horses and every other object yet. I do hope that we start to get there. But with a 30x optical zoom camera, a 1080p model, you can capture a head and shoulders from 75 feet away. Now, if it's a 4K camera, that's a 30x optical zoom. So 30x optical zoom, it starts at like 70 degrees and it goes all the way in. I forget exactly where it goes. So manual control is what I'm getting at here, not automatic control with our current PTZ camera models. They work with humans. We don't work with, and I know Ozbot does a lot of cool stuff with tracking broccoli and all this crazy stuff that they have, and dogs and all this stuff. I hope that we can do that one day. Guy and I remember that one show where I was showing you how we could track a laser pointer?
Yeah, I was blown away by that, and I was going to ask, what is the sophistication? I remember that could do it offline. It didn't have to be connected to the internet. Once it had the program, it could run on its own. Is that something that is in the future again, or is this kind of shelved for now?
So I have there's some cool things that I'm just not allowed to say.
Okay. We got to that point. I wanted to push the envelope. How far can I get Paul without making him disclose future products?
I think I'm allowed to say something along the lines of, if you've got control of this camera, optical zoom is not going to be the problem here, right? We offer up to 30x optical zoom in 4K, so you could zoom in. Zoom is not going to be the issue. The issue is always control of the camera, right? And you want it to auto magically follow stuff. Well, we're not there yet. But if you're willing to manually follow things, we're building some really cool tools to do that. And if you've only got one camera operator, there's some really cool stuff that's right around the bend that's going to make it so that if you've got one camera operator, it's not a leap to think that you could have 3 or 4 automated off of that camera. That's all I'll say, because I don't want to go too far, but that's all I'll say.
Well, the next question is in the same vein, so while we're on that subject, may as well grab it.
All right. So next question again from Ronnie. Go to sleep sometime, man. How is your tracking on a corporate gig performing from the back wall? So I guess it would be for that really long reach, right? So what about zoom ranges? Should the cameras be all up close, or can they be placed back at the front of house 434 feet away? I did the last bit.
I've actually got one of our newer PTZ optics cameras up, so I can show this area, which has been greatly improved actually on the next version coming out. But basically, with auto tracking, we have a couple different tools, and I don't know if I've got this little Danny DeVito character over here. I can zoom into, and I think he'll come up as he's not moving, but he's there, so he'll work for our.
Well, that's real easy to track. I mean, he's just. Here's Danny. He's not moving. Let's track him. Great job.
I wanted to, like Home Alone, I wanted to put him on like a train track so he moves.
That would be awesome. Especially if we could control it. Could you put that in Hive where I push a button here and Danny starts moving across your studio?
That, with home automation, there's a tool called home automation that would probably make that work. But you can see here, I could start tracking, and I think it's going to find. I think we got Danny. But essentially, we have this new tool called dynamic zoom, and this was something that a lot of customers were asking for. So even though it's tracking, you control the zoom. Okay, so essentially, you could have a SuperJoy, you could be in Hive, you could be doing whatever you want to do. It's going to follow that person and frame them however the zoom that you have it. So if you want to have a PTZ camera on a wide shot tracking that person, no problem. If you want to have a tight shot with the second camera, no problem. It'll lock into that person, and this is there could be multiple people on stage, and if I did have 3 or 4 people here, what you would see is a box around each, and each one would have a number like 1 through 5, and you would just click number 4. Knows that person, saves their face, not in memory, but just in like random access, momentary. We're considering storing faces because we do get that request for like teachers and stuff. It's their classroom, it's their PTZ camera. They want their face to be the only person that gets tracked, for example. And we do have the capability to do that. But what it's doing is it just recognizes every person. You get the ability to select that person.
Speaking of Zoom real quick, if you have a 1080 show, but you have a 4K camera and you're at the end of that 30X, can you somehow utilize the crop to the center, or how would that work to gain a little more reach? And what is that number? Is it like 1.5X or what is that?
Yeah, we have a, let's see, where did they put that feature? We have a feature in the camera that we call, man, where did they hide it? I think it's called, in the advanced mode here, it's called hybrid zoom. So with hybrid zoom enabled, as soon as you hit the end of your optical zoom, it will continue to go into digital, and you can set that.
Is it digital
like,
zoom though, or is it a native push into? Because the pixels are there. I'm not talking about blowing up pixels. I'm talking about like getting into the native resolution of 4K versus 1080. Is that?
Yeah. So I think with hybrid zoom, and you can see there's a beta mark on this, so I'm allowed to not fully get it right. But I'm pretty sure with beta zoom enabled, it immediately takes all of your video outputs to 1080.
Oh, okay.
So on the wide shot, you've got your full width, but when you come in, or maybe it crops it at the beginning. I forget, Guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you could circle back on that one, I would love to know the answer, just because it's relevant to the earlier question as well. As just if you're at the back wall of a house of worship or a corporate gig, like where's the end of the line for you? And I know you have a chart like on the website, or you did a couple of years ago, that said if you're this far away, and it was like a a bunch of ratios and numbers. Is that maybe that's something somebody could find and share it in the chat or put the link up. Let's grab that Kenny Hampton, Greenville, Illinois question and see if we can answer that one.
So Kenny Hampton from Greenville, Illinois asks, can some of the shading adjustments between cameras be done outside of the camera, only within the Hive Studio, not unlike the vMix software adjustments for inputs?
That is a great point about the way that Hive works, because with vMix, and correct me if I'm wrong, Guy, but when you're making color adjustments, it is in vMix, not in the camera itself.
Yeah, you're color correcting the pixels after the fact, so that's downstream, not native inside the camera.
Yeah, and so Hive is built to be native, and that's why those drivers are so important. So those are all native adjustments.
Especially if it is getting crushed down and then sent somewhere else, because if you could do the native color correction while you have the full 10 bits or whatever bits you're playing with, you're able to maneuver those around with full uncompressed essentially. But once it goes out, now you're crunching it down, and so you're losing a bunch of that color. And so if you do want to bring it into a vMix in the cloud or something like that, you are going to be limited. Speaking of that, is there any scopes or anything? Would I be able to pull up a histogram? Or is that's way out there?
So yes, we do actually. So, and the firmware I'm running right now does not have that because it's in beta, but that is a big deal for us with our PTZ Optics Horizon update. So we've got a big update for all PTZ Optics camera users. Basically with PTZ Optics, our cameras have a 5-year warranty. So when a customer buys a PTZ Optics camera, we tell them you're getting at least 5 years of updates for that camera. We don't charge for that. It's part of like how we grow our business, right? We things like Hive Linked, and so for 5 years we're adding new features and firmware updates and security patches. It's so important. Maintaining the API is so important because when you think about our company, we're a robotics company. There's companies that rely on our API for them to build the products that they have in healthcare, industrial manufacturing, broadcast being a big one, obviously. So the API is super important, and updating that and maintaining it over the lifespan of a camera. The big update for us that's in beta and available to customers who have PTZ Optics cameras is called PTZ Optics Horizon. And Horizon includes vector scopes, waveform monitors, and RGB parade for live scopes. I wish I had it on this computer to show you. I figured we were just mainly going to focus on Hive and Hive linking today, but that'll come out soon.
It's one of those things where you never know until you jump in. I mean, we're so thankful to have you here. We got about 3 minutes left before we hit the top of the hour. I did want to leave you a little bit of room. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you think the viewers would want to know about, or anything else that's really pertinent?
Well, I think, remote production is really an exciting space. I figured people were going to be asking about Iris and the Audinate acquisition, so I'll quickly address that as well. Basically, Iris powers Hive, and we've been working with them very closely for over 3 years now. And Audinate recently acquired them. So Audinate is really going to be putting a lot of resources and bringing Dante AV to this platform. So really excited for what Audinate and Iris are bringing to the table, where Hive and PTZ Optics are really bringing the hardware and the PTZ cameras that are really tightly integrated into this. Iris is a direct-to-consumer brand. Hive is a through authorized partners brand, very much a channel-focused company. So we're really looking for those channel partnerships. So we're interested in getting recurring revenue and building their businesses with remote production. That is our vision for the next 5 years, is working with partners. We don't sell these cameras direct. Hive is, you can buy it monthly to get people, because we need people to experience this ASAP. And one thing that you mentioned, Guy, is that a lot of people don't have a 12X or don't have a 20X or don't have a 30X. That's the whole reason why we have a Hive Studio here, is so that our partners and resellers can, customer, you want to see a 30X? You want to see what the zoom is? Click a link. Here it is, right? And we want to enable you to have that same experience, whether you're using Canon DSLRs, Bird Dog cameras, Canon cameras, Panasonic cameras, whatever you're using, giving people this experience to send them a link, they click it, and they're controlling robotic cameras. It's really incredible. I'll just leave one story. I went to a tennis coach and to set up a stream for him. And I realized that almost every video production system is just set there and only one person can use it. And I realized a couple of years ago, I was like, oh my gosh. The coach was like, can I use it? It's like, yes, you can. Here's a link. Go to your desk. And he's using it in Google Chrome. And they said, well, can the secretary use it? Because people are constantly asking her if the courts are open, and she has no idea. Yep, send a link to the secretary. Well, can my students look at it? Because they like to review their footage. And suddenly, like 10 people are using this video production system that are brand new users to video production. So if you imagine, this has only been out since April. Okay, every studio that's been signed up, we have an average of 3 people getting invited. User-wise. So this is not going to be a slow rollout, right? This is going to happen. That PTZ cameras are out there now. People know what they are. The prices are at the right point right now where this is really going to grow quickly. And what we want more than anything is for our partners to benefit. So if you're a video production company, if you are starting a business or interested in what this market is going to bring, meet with our team, because that's the business that we have, is really just through partnerships and channel relationships.
Wow, Paul, I wanted to say thank you for coming on, and Jeff for joining us and providing your insights. But man, what an hour! It just flew by, and there was more. I apologize for the questions that we'll have to send back. There was a couple more in the queue, and that's why it's important to vote on the questions, because those are the ones that get answered. My brain's spinning, and I still got to go run PTZs for the next couple of days. And I'm looking at that auto tracking, because these are Panasonic. So the way it works with Panasonic is I have to have another box and pay $1,200 for the license, and it's the game. It's a whole nother world. So we got man cameras that are the CX350s. So I'm kind of relying on that guy to pick up some of my human walking the stage, the pacer people that I can't keep up with my joystick. So anyways, this is real stuff. This is how I'm making a living right now, is off of running these robos, as we call them. We call them robos. I think that's kind of the term that people have picked up in the industry. It's super exciting to see the price points, to see the technology, to know that NDI, AV over IP with Dante. I mean, gosh, I wish we could talk more about the whole Dante world. We had the Dante guys from Turtle AV on last week, and that was fantastic hearing just the color space, the workflows, and because so many of us have Dante audio already, it's already a workflow that we're used to. So being able to see this stuff get better and better, and hopefully IMAG gets to where, it's super, well, can you answer that question real quick? Is your Dante AV like to IMAG super fast to where lips just is pretty instant?
I mean, Dante shines in so many ways that NDI users are going to be appreciating very soon, I think. Dante, that's a big question with all the Dante stuff. But yes, Dante has the clock leader. So integrating Dante, I'll just say, was a lot more complicated than integrating NDI into our cameras. And it has to do with a lot of that syncing and the clock leader and the Dante controller. So it's all integrated into there, and we could spend another show talking about it, because those PTZ cameras have audio. So you've got one channel of video and 2 channels of audio coming out of the PTZ Optics Link 4K Dante enabled camera. So Dante is making they're not messing around. They're going to make a big impact, and NDI
they didn't just
finally
throw $20 million around for nothing, man. With an $8 million, a little carrot to dangle, $20 million. I mean, it's really exciting. I mean, I know you want to tell us more, and I'm trying not to get you on that perch to where you're going to jump off the edge, but it sounds like there's a lot coming out in the future, and even the guys that were on from Turtle AV, they have stuff in the pipe that just sounds exciting for our future with quality and control, and it's really fantastic that Oddnate picked those guys up and realizes what they have. I'm sure it's gonna come. Alex had asked. He had said something, or I think it was a question from the odds, but we're asked about NDI versus Dante. What would happen in a world where it got better quality? It became could it become the standard in Eclipse NDI? And my answer was it could. Like, why not? I mean, sure, there's fees on Dante, but there's also fees on NDI to the guys like you who have to pay for hardware licenses.
That is a big difference, though. It is free to the consumer, technically, the approach that NDI has taken. But think about what NDI Bridge is versus what, like PTZ Optics Hive is, right? And so, like, from an embedded perspective, it's a much different experience. These products are going to start to become a lot different. Whereas, a lot of people look at NDI and Dante AV, and it's like, okay, they're IP video. Like, what's the difference? And I think over the next 5 years, we're going to see like, oh, that is a pretty big difference. The integrations, the workflows, the quality, and I mean, NDI is great too, but I think we're finally going to start to see some significant differentiation in the IP video connectivity world.
Man, exciting. I want to thank our crew and our viewers. Thanks for tuning in. Crew is Peter and Robert. We actually did this show in the cloud using VizVector. I want to thank those guys for offering up a license so that we could beta test this stuff out. Actually, it's far from beta. We're on like show 50 now, so I think we're out of the beta phase. Thanks to Jeff for helping set this up in the cloud. We're running in AWS. So, Jeff, what do you think of our workflow? Is it solid?
I love seeing it just work every week. It's amazing, and the guys that are behind the scenes that are cutting it all together and all, they're doing a fantastic job. They're learning every week, I think, too, just new ways of doing things, and that's what it's all about here. Is we want to share the knowledge best we can. Appreciate you, Paul, for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Guy.
Absolutely. Well, once again, thanks, and appreciate you guys. All right. Catch y'all next week.